Welcome back to our YouTube channel, guys. My name's Ardil, and today's behind the sound video is all about the amplification setup on the absolutely stunning Lamborghini Huracan Evo that we're doing an insane sound system to. If you are new to our channel, haven't seen us before, hit that subscribe button below. And remember, guys, we've got that massive 10K subscriber competition live on our channel after you've watched today's video, and hopefully you enjoy it. There is a link in the description below, but let's get on with today's video. So, the amplifiers have arrived directly on a special order to get this install done all the way directly from Electromedia, who's the manufacturer of Audison, all the way in Italy directly to us. And we are blessed with 3 Audison Thesis amplification setup. So these are Class AB amplification. They are incredible bits of kit, and they are all going to be forming into a custom enclosure that's going to be sitting in the front tub of this Huracan Evo. So today's video, we're going through a little bit more technical depth insight into the actual products themselves. So what are these products? Why are we using them? And also, how are they actually going to fit into a car like this? So these size-wise, I mean, if I measure my arm against it, it's pretty much all the way across. These are massive, massive amplification. So we've got 3 amplifiers. 2 are identical, so these are the Thesis Duos. So we've got 2 of them, and then 1 Thesis Uno. So in terms of the speaker configuration, and during an audio consultation, I guide through everyone different options and different price points to get, and also different sound quality that you're going to achieve from having a system like this. But this was the maximum power and amplification setup and quality of delivery of sound that we could actually achieve in this car. So there are some other options available, however, this is an incredible setup. In terms of the amplification, so speakers wise, we've got 2 tweeters, which are the Audison Thesis tweeters, 2 6.5-inch drivers in the door, which are the Audison Thesis sacs. Then we've got 2 Hertz Mille Legend 8-inch subs going into the vehicle. So that's the speaker configuration, basically a fully active front end, and also those 2 subs providing loads of depth into the vehicle, and obviously those Thesis tweeters providing all of that clarity and that sound stage right on top of that dashboard. In terms of these amplifiers, so for instance, we're going to start here. So this Thesis Duo is actually, all these amplifiers are completely handmade. So these guys are building them in Electromedia in Italy, and the team at Audison have done a phenomenal job producing products like this. These are completely hand-built products. So this amplifier here is actually going to be running the tweeters. So obviously the Thesis Duos, they are identical in terms of performance and things like that, but this one will be running the tweeters. Then we've got the other Thesis Duo, which is going to be running the actual 6.5-inch Thesis sacs in the door. And then we've got the Uno, which is going to be running the actual subs in the vehicle, and then the 2 Hertz Mille Legend subs. So overall, a really, really nice array of products. And we're going to be doing something a bit special with the actual amplification stage once it actually goes into the vehicle itself. But in terms of power and delivery, these amplifiers, obviously, they are incredible bits of kit. They are running what's called Class A amplification. So there's different tiers of amplification from A basically all the way down to D. So Class D amplification, normally you'll find in, say, the Audison Prima range or a couple of other products across the world. But Class D amplification is normally down to compactness of the actual size of the amplifier. Normally quite small amplifiers that still output quite a lot of power. However, the way sound is delivered and the clarity that you get from a Class D amplification is very, very different as you go up the chain. So Class A amplification is the highest tier, and that's exactly what we're running. However, the consumption is similar, but the actual power output from Class A amplification is a lot less. That's not only due to the calculations that is actually configured when they run these figures. So if you had, say, a 200-pound amplifier, for instance, and it says on the box that it outputs 2,000 watts, okay? That's a Class D amplification, but also the mathematical equation, which is always in the terms and conditions, the way they've measured that 2,000 watts isn't actually achievable in a car. That's actually not what's being outputted in essence from the amplifier. But when you go to Class A amplification or anything from Electromedia or from 4Car Audio's website or the Audison or Hertz brands, what you're getting from the actual figures, it still varies a little bit with that calculation, but how sound is actually delivered is very, very important, and the mathematical equations behind them are different. So you've got to be careful. If you're comparing, say, an Audison Voce amplifier to an Audison Thesis amplifier, you've got to be looking at the actual calculation on how that is actually put together to get the figure that you're reading on paper. So Class A amplification, the power is actually a lot less in terms of sort of watts as you would. However, the way that power is delivered and the clarity that you get is where the money goes, and that is where the difference is. So in terms of power outputs and things like this, all the product links will be listed below, and you can check out the specs of them all online if you want to. But in essence, we're running this as what's called high current. So we're running this as what's called 80 watts per channel. So this can be running the tweeters. Same again on the actual 6.5-inch drivers in the door. And then we're running this amplifier, which is the Uno, at 1,500 watts to the subs. Obviously that is being split down to the 2 Hertz Melee Legend subs. But in terms of power on figures and bases like that, you're not looking at massive figures in terms of output. However, the clarity and the way the system will deliver and the way the speakers will consume that sound is really important, and that's where you get a massive difference in clarity and performance. Plus obviously your speakers, like the Audison Thesis range, that's exactly what they want to be delivering in terms of amplification output, and it makes such a difference having sets of products like this. So obviously that's a little bit of an overview of the 3 products in terms of amplification that we're going into. But another big part of the amplification side is actually the processing power. So amplifiers in essence are a dumb product. In essence, they are, you input whatever you want into it and it will output whatever it is, just obviously at a better rate. If you're inputting dirty signal, it will only amplify dirty signal, and from that output side, you're getting that dirty signal too, but just obviously better and louder. So it's very important that we clean up all those signals, and that's what we're using a product called the Audison Bit Virtuoso. What that product is doing is taking signals input, so the dirty signals from your factory radio, into the processor. Processor cleans everything up. That sends clean signal into the amplification setup. Then obviously with this Class A amplification, you're then sending immaculate signal, all corrected and all de-equalized, perfect signal into these amplification set, and then they work so well because they are then amplifying perfect, correct sound, correct signals, and that then goes out to the speakers. Speakers then deliver that inch perfect audiophile setup, and this is a massive audiophile setup. Class A amplification achieves that, and obviously the way we're doing the install is going to achieve that as well. So that's the amplification setup. But how are we actually going to get these products into this small space here? If you own one of these cars, you know this luggage space is not big at all. And obviously we've got 3 amps to talk about and get them into here, but these also get very hot as well. So how are we actually going to cool the system down enough to actually get into here as well? Because obviously these are large products, we need to allow for airflow, and we also need to actually mount them in a safe manner. So we'll be joined by Karl. Welcome, Karl.
How you doing, guys? You all right?
So talk us through obviously this construction that you've built here. How have you achieved it, and why have you done it in this way?
Well, we've got the three great big amps, and normally what we'd end up doing is having them somewhere by the subwoofer inside, a second one inside the bonnet, and we'd have a nice framework built out of MDF to hold everything, and a nice panel to go over the top to make it all look pretty. This one we just haven't got the space. There's no space in the back now. We've built that great big sub box. In the front, it's minimal, so we've had to build this out of 5mm steel and weld the whole framework to be able to fit everything inside. Made up a couple of small templates, that one there to give us the mounting platform, and this one here to actually be a replication of the Thesis amps. With this, we've then been able to set exactly, take up all of the space, use as much space as we can, but keep enough space for the air to flow around everything. So we're going to have one mounted on the front, on the back, sorry, one on the front, and one up the top.
So we're going to be doing something rather special with that top amplifier, so you'll have to stay tuned right till the very end. The final video, guys, on the channel will be the actual finished product on the top, but that's getting kept a secret, so we can't tell anyone about that. But there is something happening very special on top of a very special system already. But airflow in this area, so the reason why there's a gap between where we're mounting a Thesis amplifier at the back here, and there is a little bit of a gap here, and that's to do with airflow. The heat sinks on the amplification rack actually allow air to flow around. Plus we're going to be adding fans into the system to move air as much as possible to keep everything cool.
We're going to have an input and an output fan either side, which will actually be going through and around the outside of the tub in the dry area of the vehicle. So that will help to create an airflow through and around. The top amplifier is offset ever so slightly to allow any excess heat to come up and around it, which will then sort of disperse through the top of the cover.
So obviously, talking about not only this, but obviously you put 3 amplifiers in here. This tub needs to be removed to go back to when it goes to manufacturer, because your battery's underneath there. So obviously for battery management side of things, we're adding a C-Tech charging port in just as an extra sort of measure as such, just so the customer can charge their vehicle at any time, and also put like an MXS10 C-Tech charger on and put a supply down there as well for whatever reason, but can trickle charge the car nice and easy, and we'll be building that into the actual panel work itself. But
it needs to be removable.
It needs to be removable. So obviously this rack here, how have you designed this in a way to make it the whole tub removable?
This will house the amps, and they will be built into this as a permanent feature. The fuse holder there will be part of it. So for the power side, it's just going to be your main ground and your main live, which will be removed. And that then is, the whole power side of it is completely removable with the rack. We're going to have our data connections running through these two here, which will go straight through the back of the tube into the first amp. The rest of the data connections will all be on this side, so they'll daisy chain through the 2 different amps. And the speaker side of things, we've got that, and I'll just grab you the wiring loom that we've been building.
So this is actually the wiring loom that we're building. Is in essence, this whole amplification rack will be able to be removed completely. So this is a little connector that we've got all the speaker signals, and this is the other part of it, ready to go onto the amplifiers. This
is the second part of the wiring loom, which will be able to plug in and be removed. And once that's been removed from the vehicle, it'll all become part of this. So all of the wiring loom will run around to the various different places on the amp rack for each of the amps. So that'll be one connection for all of the speaker cables going back into the vehicle. So everything basically in terms of removing the system can be done, so this tub can be removed. So even with this level of amplification, we can actually still remove the tub. We've not lost retention of that. We've added in a charging point onto the vehicle. So you've still got charging facility, you've still got access to battery, and we'll actually have a full manual written as well for the customer, so you can access everything that we've done, remove it all. Plus, obviously, this system, even with this level of work, we've done it all in a way where the car can be returned back to stock at some point. Obviously, you hear this system, you never will want to return it back to stock, but behind the scenes, we look at those sorts of things and build it in that way. So thank you very much for watching, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed today's video. But from me and Karl, thank you very much. See you soon.
See you soon.